Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Tulley, President and Executive Writing Coach at Defend, Publish, and Lead. Welcome to episode 182, Writing on Location. We've gotten a lot of questions in the past couple of weeks about how to get writing completed when you're working in a space that's not your usual space. And I know that we've talked in several episodes about summer writing and how sometimes you go to a different location. Maybe you're writing outside, maybe you're writing in a different coffee shop or a different space, maybe not your office because you're off campus for the summer. But what I'm talking about in the episode today is looking at writing on location when you're in a location that's not familiar to you for any reason. So for example, you're on a family vacation, you were on a research trip, you're on some other maybe extended stay that it doesn't have any of the familiar markers that you might use. And one of the things that we've talked about with clients a lot are just some ways to kind of make sure that you're getting some writing completed if that is your goal. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're on a vacation, you're not trying to get any writing completed. But if it is your goal, there are some things that I think can be really helpful to try to navigate a new writing space. So what I'm doing in this episode, I'm going to share a picture, and I've got actually lots of pictures of writing on location, but I'm just going to pick one, for example, because I think this one might be most helpful. And what I'm showing on the screen right now is a picture, and for those of you on YouTube, you can see it, but there's a picture of me in the British Library when I was on an extended research trip of almost a month that I spent in London a couple of years ago. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about this particular trip was that of course, it's London. It's fabulous. I really had a great time. I did a lot of good research there. But one of the things that I really liked about this particular trip was that there were so many great academic spaces. I was located near the University College London. I was able to use any of the resources at the institutions there. I also had library privileges at the British Library, so I was able to work there. And so this picture shows a pretty standard scenario where other researchers are on one of the floors in the British Library. It was a floor that you had to get access to. But it pretty much looks like a standard academic library with, the wooden tables, the little lights over the wooden tables. There's laptops everywhere. Everybody's working. At the time that I was here, I was working through a couple of final revisions on a book project. And I remember trying to think through, I'm going to be in London for almost a month. Where am I going to do my writing? Because all of my regular spaces that I've done writing in before are not there anymore. So, I didn't know, where would be a great coffee shop. And one thing I found out is that coffee shop writing in London, at least in the neighborhood that I was in, was not that prominent because there was not a lot of seated space to do it. So, depending on where you are, you might be used to seeing people with laptops and their coffee settling in all day. There weren't any spaces to do that kind of thing in most of the places that I was at. So that wasn't a spot really for me. And I'm not a big coffee shop writer. I do kind of a once a week thing in one coffee shop that I like, but it's not my go-to to get my location or my writing completed. So I do like a library. And so I knew that this library was going to be probably a space that I would get a lot of work done. But it's different. I've given lots of episodes, and I've talked about this, shown lots of pictures of me writing. I'm very used to my university library right on the second floor. It's generally empty to half empty. I have yet to write in a library where everybody was packed in kind of like sardines next to each other, which was what this experience was and what this picture shows. And so one of the things that I know for me took a little getting used to was to try to think about, all right, well, I like to write in a library. Why do I like to write here? And I thought about it for a minute. And a lot of people will say they like to write in that space because it's quiet. Well, in this case, it was quiet, but I mean, the room that I was in probably had 200 other researchers in there. So everybody's, setting down well, we weren't supposed to have drinks, but everybody did have coffee and stuff like that. You hear car keys, you hear coffee mugs, you hear chairs pushing in and out, you hear beeps on computers. So it wasn't really quiet in a way that I might have been used to. But one of the things that I found really invigorating, and this is, maybe an argument for writing on a research trip somewhere where you find a new space for yourself, is that I found that hearing everybody else's fingers on keyboards actually made a very nice kind of a background noise for me. I didn't feel any pressure that, oh, all these researchers are doing all these great things and I'm not thinking of ideas and why am I sitting here? More, it was just kind of a nice, pleasant background noise. And this is sort of funny, but it smelled like a library. It was very beautiful. It, had all the things. So I really did enjoy working there, and I enjoyed sort of the novelty of writing in a new space. But in other trips, I've had writing locations. For example, my family tends to take a trip to Florida once or twice a year, sometimes more. And in that kind of an environment, there is no office. We have a dining room table, but it's out in a big area where the rest of the family is running around. There are some outdoor spaces, but sometimes the time of year that I go, it's very hot to write outside, and a laptop will heat up very quickly. So I can't be writing in burning hot Florida sun when it's 95 degrees out. Not sure what that is in Celsius, but something hot. And so one of the ways that I've kind of navigated writing in a space like that was to think more about time versus a space. So when I was in London, I tried to think through, okay, what is a way that I could kind of make this scenario work for me? And I knew I wanted to take advantage of sort of the research culture and the libraries and that kind of thing. But on a family vacation like Florida, where everybody's in the same house with me, it's not a large house, so there's not a lot of like quiet space where I can do thinking. I manage that more on a time sense in two different ways. One of the decisions that helped me get some writing completed, and I actually completed one of my books in Florida by getting up earlier before everybody else did. I kind of lucked out that a lot of the family slept relatively, not super late, but relatively late to like 8:30 in the morning. So I found out if I could get up at like 6, get a cup of coffee, work until people got up, at least for me, then I felt like, well, I got some writing done. Nobody was interrupting me. And then if I was tired, I just took a nap, at some other point during the day. So that's kind of been my go-to practice for a family vacation where once everybody's up, we're doing activities, we're, doing family kind of things, or we're going somewhere, or there's just too much noise to get work completed. So that was one way. Other ways that I've done some work on location, so that could be even in transit on location. A lot of the trips that I take, I am in the car and I'm sometimes a passenger. So I've done things where I've brought different research tasks to do that are kind of smaller that I could do in the car. I brought those with me. If I have to work somewhere that's really noisy, so for example, like in an airport before I go somewhere, I do use headphones. I do try to find, a corner somewhere where I can get some work done. I'm not really great at writing in airports, but I've tried. And so this is something that, as many of us travel for our own research needs or thinking how to maybe get some writing completed over the summer. I think it really boils down to two questions. Do you want to replicate what you have at home and try to keep those good systems going? Or do you want to take advantage of the novelty and the difference and get some research completed in that way? So I will leave you with those two questions for this particular episode if you are traveling while you're doing some writing. I did have somebody ask us if we can do, even just regular phone calls when we're on the road to do writing coaching. And yes, we can. So we're happy to do that for you. Another thing that I would recommend taking advantage of, we know you have heard me say before that Textbook and Academic Authors Association is one of our sponsors. They do have writing months of motivation where you can sign up and get daily reminders to get in on a Zoom to do some writing with other people. That can be a way to get some writing completed on location as well, because it could be something that puts some barriers or some boundaries around when you might want to do some writing. One of the benefits of using that particular experience is that they do writing meetings at all different times. So you're not set, if you've got a family that wants to get out and do things by like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., you're not missing it. There's lots of different times that are available. So I'll put a link in the show notes to how to sign up for that if that's something that you're looking to do. And it's one of the benefits to being a member of the Textbook and Academic Authors Association. Happy writing this week.